Hey guys, this is going to be a quick video looking over at the San Francisco Shock's Stage 2 opening match versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. There were a lot of very interesting things that the Shock did, and a lot of it is kind of revolving around how the team is sort of changing their play style, but also staying with the same sort of play style at the same time. They're kind of refinding themselves, I think is a good way to put it. I think it kind of all starts with how the roster is now being built. So obviously, when the season started, they had Junbin and Heesang, and that basically meant that proper this little player here might have heard of him. He's quite good at the video game. He was essentially being limited to having to play, heroes that maybe weren't super carry, super, skill ceiling, or at least skill ceiling that he could exploit, right? Having to play on the Sombra sometimes, needing to play the hit scan when really the Tracer's the one doing a lot of the heavy lifting. And those kinds of things made it a little bit rough for the San Francisco Shock, whose entire team has kind of been built around having proper be at the center stage. I think there was a big issue with how they built the roster because, the O2 Blast roster, when Proper was there, always had 3 DPS. They always had someone who could play hit scan and then someone who could also play Tracer, so that Proper could play Tracer for hit scan Tracer, and he could play the projectiles if he wanted to play the projectiles. And we've kind of moved back onto a system for the DPS line anyway, where he's able to accomplish that, right? Striker coming in, as unbelievable as that is, and then Probe coming in. Both of these players synergize really well with Proper's hero pool, because Probe is, obviously, I believe, an O2 Blast graduate? Yeah, O2 Blast graduate, was playing on that team with some of the other players on this roster now, which is going to be very good to see that synergy happening. But his hero pool consists of hit scans and very strong Sombra player as well. Striker as well. He's kind of a Tracer player. He's very good at Tracer. He can play some of the Hamza, and those kinds of things just allow Proper to play the carry heroes that he can carry. I think the only question mark might be for some of the rush comps. I'm not sure how they're going to handle that just yet. We might have actually seen that Coliseo. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the full match. I haven't had a full time to sit down, so maybe we'll take a peek at that later on. But some of the other changes to quickly talk about as well is that Finn's basically been benched, and Lucamino and Renko, the fish himself, has come in now. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out. It's been going really well for them so far. Renko is playing quite well. Lucamino is actually, kind of what they were missing, is a main support player who can very adeptly, switch over to the flex supports when they need it. Like the way that this Shock system is playing now is playing very heavily for Proper, and to allow him to get a lot of value individually, and to allow him to very aggressively play. And that aggression is kind of what we're going to be looking at today. Yeah, so the meta at the moment is very much centered around kind of the combination of these two comps, right? It's this core here that the Gladiators is using, plus then the Sombra. That's still very clearly the meta. Now, very interestingly, we've been seeing a lot of players playing this this Echo. Kev's just showing it off here. Proper himself was playing it a little bit earlier on Ilios and on Eichenwalde. Very strong hero still, especially now that some of the other hit scan options have been nerfed. It just allows for a lot more aggression and a lot more control over the high ground, so that the Sombra Tracer kind of lacks sometimes. That's the big thing that it lacks. But, I mean, the main attraction for me here is going to be able to see this little fella. Junbin playing on this Wrecking Ball, and this is, I think, why this this Shock comp is so interesting. Because I think this is probably just a way to progress the meta. I don't even think this is cheese. we'll talk about some of the problems here in a second. The reason why they're playing it here on defense specifically, because on attack they were still playing the monkey, but on defense, because Dorado is such a map dominated by these big high grounds that Wrecking Ball has such easy access to, it's very easy for Junbin and then Probe and Proper by extension to go for very aggressive dives, which is really the name of the game here. If you can move fast, and I mean, if you watch the London versus Atlanta game, whenever like London was playing dive in that match, it just looked tragic because London could never move fast, right? And that's what the name of the game is for this meta. You want to move fast, you want to move fast, and if you can do that, then things start to ease up a bit. The big problem is that for this comp, it's very feast or famine for this shot comp, right? If Junbin can't move fast, if he gets cut off from moving fast, that peel it's not there. It's absolutely not there in the same way that it is for Winston or even like Diva, right? And that means that the ball is going to be very feast or famine. It means that we're going to be seeing a lot of very high impact fights, but we might also see some fights where, yeah, you'd rather see something else come out. So let's start jumping into it here. We're gonna have to do this a little bit scuffed because we only get access to this YouTube VOD. We can see the setup here already, right? So Junbin is playing here. He's got a third-person camera, so he can scout this. I believe this is going to be just the supports here. I assume that the Tracer and the Sombra are somewhere around here for the San Francisco Shock. You can see Kevster's already getting up onto this angle, like here, so that, you know, any monkeys or, you know, Junbin that's hiding onto this high ground can get spammed out by him. And yeah, here we do see confirmation that the Sombra is down on the bottom here, and Proper is playing up onto this high ground, right? And this allows for a very easy kill box for 3 angles, right? Like as soon as the backline for the Gladiators tries to push this cart, it's a very easy dive for San Francisco Shock to take in. And we're just going to see how aggressive they have to go here. You know, they have to kind of give up the space that they were controlling. And now we can see Marvel's going to try jumping in first here. And you can see Junbin has a little bit of discipline here, not to just immediately counter commit. The counter commit here would be quite poor, just because, again, like, Marvel is able to very quickly leave, and he's going to be able to care his backline if they do go for a counter commit. You need to make sure that Marvel is securely out, and now that he is, they've used that dive, now they can start applying pressure a little bit more. Kevster is unfortunately still being very troublesome on this off angle, and this is also why this echo is so good, right? You've got that like poke aspect where you can control how, you know, a tank can engage, because, you know, you don't really want to engage when you're down 100 health on Wrecking Ball, because that's already all your armor gone, right? And we can see here that the engage does come out here while Kevster is flying up. And you can see this is very good from the Shock, because Kevster isn't dealing with this engage. He sees it happen as well. Like, he shouldn't be making this decision to fly over here. He should very much just go back. He still has both of his defensive cooldowns that he can use to burst down the ball, maybe pressure up the Tracer. But instead he goes for the wrong decision. We can see here by the health poles, Probe takes a lot of damage, Proper starts taking damage, Junbin pops his shields, and Kevster gets 0 value, and now Marvel has to go in and tries to dive, and this is just incredible from Junbin, right? Just manages to completely dislodge this while staying on this high ground, and then goes in and just hard pressures out Kevster, forcing a bubble out from Marvel. And this is the big problem with Wrecking Ball, okay? Because the Shock can do this, yeah? Atlanta can do this, they have Donghack. Florida could maybe do this. That's it, at least for the Western region, right? There's maybe a bit more ball in East, not in the West. But I think, you know, that's the biggest weakness for the ball. I think the second biggest weakness is how much you rely on having this like high ground setup that you could already have, and this is why you see it so much on defense or on Koth as well. But just this high amounts of health and armor. This is going to be a little bit of a misplay here from Junbin. We're going to see some failed tech here. Oh, is it here? Yeah, here. He just clunks his head on the bridge and doesn't manage to get out. And this is kind of that feast or famine, right? Because you have to be perfect. You have, like, if Junbin lives there, he's carrying, because they've invested so many resources and not able to kill him. He can get a clean engage with this EMP going, and that's just a free fight win, right? But not everyone can live that, including Junbin, and it just doesn't matter anyway, right? Because EMP comes out, Bull gets back so quickly. Junbin's rollout here was actually really, really good as well. We can see the way that he rolls out. He actually, I believe I don't know how he even gets here, but yeah, crazy rollout to be able to just quickly slam. And this is a beautiful slam as well, right? We can just look at this. Like, these guys are just unslammable together unless you slam this high ground, because of the high ground slam tech. This guy gets hit, this guy gets hit. And they both, like, instantly die because of it, right? It's just too much damage. And at this point, all it's about is just living. And this is what Junbin does really well. And this is why I think Junbin is the best wrecking ball in the world, is he lives forever so well, right? Like that one death that he had just now, that's his first death, right? We can keep track of that mentally. But he lives so well. He knows his grapple spots as well, which is something that you just don't see very often. And it's the difference between him and, like, Gaga, right? Because when Gaga was in the league, 2 years ago, for the Chengdu Hunters in their, like, really dominant season in the East, the way that Gaga was able to, like, dominate those games was because he had the mechanics to get instant value, right? But that was it. He was good enough to, allow Jinmu and Leave to go in, get their value, but then he couldn't, like, live, right? And that's kind of like the biggest thing that Junbin has over him, which he can get that value, get the pick, and then live as well. And the way he's able to do that is just his movement. His like, grapple knowledge is beautiful. Like, anytime you see a grapple from him, it's a perfect grapple. It's just uncanny. And that's like, you can't teach that, right? Like, you just learn that. And again, here he's just roof surfing to get to some place where he needs to go. And you can see they're going to try to mark out this Trace to Sombra here. This is a really good engage. And again, like, Winston just can't do this, right? Like, if Winston tries this, like, if Winston tries to engage here, he just loses immediately. But and this is what Bull can do. Like, Bull can just squeeze out that little bit of extra time. Like, Winston would have to wait until they cross out of this room and into here. But because of the scouting from Probe and just the Wrecking Ball's, like, unique skill set, he can come in here, mind you, okay, nice, good fight, next fight, please. Right? And it's just dominant. It's incredibly dominant. And now it's just clean up. Next fight here, we just posture. We postured so aggressively here. It's really nice to see. This is, like, I mean, come on, right? Like, you just get this bounce to make it way easier for your armor to, like, to heal you, for Renko to heal you here. And it's just, that's, like, insane, right? And now we're scouting. We find Babel, and again, right, like, Winston just can't do this. Winston just is not able to burst 100 damage. It's not possible. Like, and he does that without needing, like, a grapple. And then he gets a rebound tech off as well. Like, I mean, just come on. It just shouldn't be fair. Like, this guy, man. You can see, right, like, Kai gets the trade out onto Renko, and that makes this really difficult now all of a sudden. Is that trade comes out, which means that we can't hold as aggressively, but we're still posturing here. right? Like you can see the Junbin is still posturing here, but like realistically, you know, you can't take really a long fight here. It's gonna have to come down to like whether or not you can get a good EMP going here. And I guess Probe just doesn't believe in the EMP there. Kevster gets scout, Kevster scouts him. Oh, EMP comes out. We don't commit on it. I have no. Let's try and see if we can piece that together here. The Probe uses hack. Something gets hacked. No. Just paint. But I can see the sights. What? What am I seeing sights on? I'm not seeing sights. I'm simply... Oh, I saw the white. So the EMP comes in, but it's a solo EMP on Lastro, while Babel is playing from here, which has line of sight. And we can see Junbin is actually engaging. No, he's not. You thought about it, and then he just decided not to. And so I think this is kind of where the Feast or Famine comes in, right? Because if you don't get your insta-pick off of this, now it's all of a sudden way, way harder to play for like your Brawl phase. And this is also just rough. A stun comes in off of the rally into a sticky bombs, and then the sleep, which means that the stickies don't wake you. And yeah, you're just insta dead. There's no counterplay to that if you're Junbin, unfortunately, once you get hit by that initial stun. And this is kind of where it gets a little bit sour for the Shock. Again, hyper Feast or Famine comp. And it's just really engaging to see. This is the kind of stuff that I really enjoy watching. We're gonna see kind of how this continues to play out on second. I think on third it's probably gonna be a little bit rougher because again you lose that high ground. But here, oh, this is perfect. Thank you. Here you've got like this high ground, you've got this high ground that you can abuse, right? Over here, you can slide all the way across this. And there's some crazy grapples that you can do with like this roof here. That just allows you to abuse space so well. And you can see, right, like the echo pick is basically mandatory here for the Gladiators. They have Kai on Tracer. It's a rough one. Because, like, if you're playing this ball, then, like, you need the high ground control. The only thing that like, Glads can do to prevent that is to poke out the ball, right? And the only thing that can do that effectively enough is Kevster and this Echo. And I just want to go back here and watch this again. Because just the way that, like, this entire play happens, right? So Junbin comes in here. Sorry, I just... One second here. Does he just... No, okay. I thought he booped Marvel out of the way with that, but no, it was Lucamino's bash. Or whip shot, sorry. But that's really clean, and then this is just like this it's so good. Like, and it doesn't look good, right? But this, you go in, you see Babel is just staring him down, right? Babel is staring him down. Lastro is just hard shielding him. They are waiting. Kevster is like looking at him. All of them are just like staring directly at him, waiting for him to go in for mines and a slam. And he baits it. He baits all the attention for the swing around, comes in. Okay, brother. Sorry. This is... The micro on this play is just so incredible. I just want to point this out. Because... like, he almost gets the boop off onto Marvel as well, right? Like, if Marvel's just a little bit faster there, then he gets that boop off, and that's even better. And this is... the mines is a little bit poorly spread out, I think. But it just, like, it causes so much disruption. We can see it way better here. Right? It causes so much disruption here. It means that these guys can't simply walk up for free. And it just creates space, right? Because now all of a sudden, like, the Winston can't stand here anymore because the mines are there and he's going to take even more damage, so he has to go all the way out, right? And that means that Proper and Probe can now take the space while Lucamino and Renko can position themselves really well for this fight. And they don't have to, like, they don't have to keep going. Probe's very happy to simply just, like, continue to farm these mines, and I think, is this where Junbin gets... No. Where is it? At some point he gets a stupid minefield kill, but might not be here. Let's go back a little bit. So Kai actually gets probe on 98% to EMP, which is really, really unfortunate. But we trade it out with proper. But again, right, feast or famine, you don't get your first pick. Unlucky. Go next fight, guys. We take this high ground. We're going to try and consolidate it. And again, this is why the echo is basically mandatory at this point for Glads. It's because just like you need to be able to, you need to be at least contesting this, right? Like this can't they like this. No, this cannot happen for free if you are Glads. Very, very angry if you are glad seeing this happen, right? It's just not good for you because, again, it just means that, like, Marvel and Kai has to play in here. It means that your backline has to play this, like, this stupid little angle. And it means that this guy, Probe here, he's about to have the freest EMP of his life, right? Because these guys can just walk up really, really passively, use their cooldowns, never die from this high ground. Right, and we're going to just see this here. Junbin goes in. We just decide to punish Marvel. Again, here though, right? You don't get your pick if you're the shot here. And this is kind of how it goes a little bit south. But unfortunately, Kevster has really, really like bad timing here with the rest of his team. Because Marvel just like jumps away, and as soon as he does, Kevster just flies up, which means that Lucamino can easily block all of his damage. There's zero threat to him or Renko, and only then can Marvel jump up. Kevster's already had to use Dupe. But again, Shock didn't get a pick, so it's very, very difficult for them to turn this because the Brawl phase is just so much better for Gladiators, right? Like, Glad can just brawl so much better. Junbin makes a big mistake there as well, staying in when his backline is getting hard engaged on, which means that he can't get healed, which means that he just dies. And so this is kind of just how it is, right? Like this match is completely dictated by whether or not the Shock play it well or not. And this is kind of an issue that Junbin has with his Winston play. And this is also why Shock are likely relying on this, or will be relying on this Wrecking Ball in the future, is because the monkey play from this team still hasn't looked very good. Like I'm not sure what the issue is. You know, it might just be you know, a bit of a communication problems with Finn and with Renko now. But there's just a little bit of too much aggression coming in for Junbin. It doesn't look like he completely knows his limits yet. I'd like to see them kind of balancing other comps into it as well. I don't think that the Winston hasn't looked like a must play on a lot of maps so far. A lot of teams are making other comps work. I think Diva could work as well, especially when you have someone like Matt. It could be very interesting, right? But now the Glad's comp looks a lot worse. And the transition out for Glads here is also really awkward. And this is just an issue with how they build and field their rosters, right? Because Kevster is now in. They predicted that they would have to play Hitscan Tracer here, but it ended up being Echo Tracer, and in which case you'd rather have Yaki and Kai. But Yaki got benched, unfortunately, and that means now that they are kind of stuck with this to where, like, the swap out is going to be really awkward because you're going to have to, you can't just swap Kevster straight onto Sombra because then Kevster's on Sombra and you don't really want that. So you kind of have to have Kai swap over to Sombra first and then Kevster swaps onto Tracer, but it's just not possible because, you know, you've got 60 seconds left in the bank, so it's rough. Probe actually gets a pick off his EMP. The EMP fights have not looked great so far from the San Francisco Shock, and I think they could have been doing a lot better on this map if the EMP fights do end up working. But yeah, successful EMPs just kind of don't come out here for them, and we can see here again this this Winston just kind of snipes Kevster, I guess. Junbin mechanically very, very good player, but maybe just not as experienced on the Winston as he is on the ball to allow him to live sometimes. Lucamino now here. This is another just like complete upside, right? Because Vindame just doesn't have the Vindame doesn't quite have the same. Well, yeah, Vindame doesn't quite have the same talent on the flex support. And Lucamino is able to fill that in, and he was doing that a lot this series. Let's take a quick look at Colosseo, just because I'm interested to see how they play it. They play proper probe. What do they play? Oh, they just play dive. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Alright. Fair enough. Cool. So, yeah, I'm still very interested to see how they handle a brawl. Maybe we'll see that when they play the Justice tonight. Maybe we won't. Justice is going to be a very interesting team as well to keep your eye on. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. I just thought this Wrecking Ball composition was very, very interesting from the shock. There's a lot of Feast or Famine upside to it. Renko, you know, not needing to be as attentive to his Wrecking Ball. But his mechanics are helping him out with keeping Junbin up when he needs to be up. And yeah, Junbin just looks incredible on that hero. Just the micro plays that he's doing. If they make a POV of Junbin's Wrecking Ball, definitely be looking at that, because yeah, that guy is incredible. Every play that he makes is just like unbelievably mechanically intensive, and just no one else can make the plays that he's making in the world, I think. And that's why I think San Francisco Shock is risking it all on this Wrecking Ball.